universe is crazy and I don't know what to do. So I made a podcast for me and for you. Pizza sauce and diggly digs, everybody loves a dig. Japanese girls and 80s flicks, rock and roll like Stevie Nicks. Mafia humors, elder rules, telling you what's wrong with school. Bruno James and Dan Marino, talking shit on people we know. Hockey fights and cracking beers, living life without no fear. Oh, my brain, what's inside? I don't know what to write.
Like weird Japanese shit.
Turtles and Hot Pockets. If you don't like those, I don't want to be friends.
And I'm searching for a turd of gold. And I'm getting older. Do. Hey, welcome back to the show. Apparently, my buddy sent me an article. It was on Fox News. What news is true? Who the hell really knows? Apparently, Neil Young was coming at Spotify saying he wants off. Says it's either him or Rogan. Who knows? I said it's probably Russian bots, fresh bots. You know those Russians. They've always had it out for the Canadian music industry. Neil Young, Celine Dion, Rush. They want them gone, all of them. I don't know. Who the hell knows what the hell's true? You read a little blurb. You know what I mean? I didn't hear it from him. Who the hell knows? But he's basically saying he doesn't want his music on there. If there's going to be people on there spreading misinformation. I love these, but misinformation. What's misinformation really? You know what I mean? Let's get down to that. It's like, it's just a different opinion, really. It's not even really a different opinion. It's just different information, which, you know, you would think to come to any logical consensus, any true decision that has any meaning, you would want all of the information, not just, you know, a tailored narrative of information given to you, you know, regardless of what you believe or which side. You want all of the information. Then you make a logical decision based on all of that information. You try to make the best decision for what you think is right. Which, when I look at this stuff, the thing that really becomes starkly obvious to me, but it doesn't seem like anyone else is discussing it, is when they discuss like misinformation, really what they're more or less saying is that people are fucking morons, because who's just listening to one person? Like who, I don't know 11-year-olds that are like listening to Rogan or really listening to the news or anybody. So it's like, if you're an adult and you're listening to something and you're gaining some information, you'd think you'd have enough multiple things. You would have enough common sense. You would have enough, you know, reasoning, enough self-worth, enough critical, you know, reasoning and logic to make a sound decision for yourself. Whether that's a bad decision or not, who cares? People do all sorts of shit. People get tattoos. People go skydiving. People go fucking swimming with sharks and shit. People go skiing when they have zero capability of doing so. Like, people are free to make all these decisions. Why aren't people free to take in as much information as they possibly can about things and then make a decision for themselves? It's like you're basically saying, like, people are too fucking stupid to listen to something, gain some valuable information from it, and then make a decision. They could potentially listen to it and still say, yeah, you know what? I don't like what you're basically just assuming that these people are sheeple and they're just going to be easily persuaded to do one thing, or that this person, this figure means so much to them that they're just going to follow along and do whatever they say. Now, sure, there's probably a group of people that are going to do that, but those people were going to do whatever the hell they're told, regardless of what it is. You just want them to do what you're telling them. It's like that group of people is always just going to be easily persuaded. So there needs to be, you know, an awareness that that's really what people are saying, that people aren't intelligent enough to make their own decisions and that they're completely easily persuaded by a single individual, which I really don't think that's the case for most of these people. Most of the people, this is just adding another layer to their beliefs, that they already are like a health conscious person and they have certain, you know, they feel like they spend a lot of time on their own personal health. They know what's best for themselves and their own body and their families. And, you know, they don't feel like they're at risk for certain, whatever. I'm not even trying to get into the whole thing of what's wrong or right, or vaccinations, not vaccinations. But if you really think about what they're saying, is that's really what they're saying. It's like, it isn't, I don't watch that. I'm vaccinated for, various reasons. And I still like watching this shit just to gain more information, more knowledge. What if I'm just interested in the science behind all this stuff? Like, I'm not free to access this information. Like, that's some straight up China shit. China, having lived there, if you don't know it by now, I mention it. I lived there for, 4+ years. If, I'm drinking a beer today with this. It's later in the afternoon. I already did my leg workout. I deserve it. Forgot how much I missed Heineken. It's just good. It's nice. I always used to think it had like a weed smell, which apparently I learned that hops and cannabis, weed, whatever, marijuana, whatever you want to call it, the plants are actually very related. They're like cousins. So it makes sense, which is interesting if you think about it. Like, why are there this segment of plants that have these impacts? Well, I know it's the alcohol, but it's used to flavor alcohol. But that's something I'd like to look into, is that like these plants that are very similar, biologically related, are then used, as mind-altering substances, or used as a part of mind-altering substances. Interesting, no? I know there's that book. It's called like Apples, Weed, something, Roses, something. It's basically about how like plants evolved with certain characteristics to actually manipulate us. So apples are sweet because they knew then by being sweet, they're more likely, which, it's not like they had a conscious brain of this stuff. At least at this point, we haven't been able to prove that as far as I know. But, they're sweet because then, we're going to eat them, and then we're going to want to plant the seeds. So we propagate the existence of certain plants because of their characteristics. Tulips or whatever are pretty. So we would want to plant them, and thus we're kind of like being manipulated by the plants. But I mean, if you look in the jungles and stuff, that's how a lot of these plants survive, is they have certain characteristics. They're bright, so they attract bees, which then the pollinate. I've never read the book, but I'm just talking out my ass from what I know. Bees come and they see them, and then they pollinate and propagate, and bugs come because they're sweet, and then blah, 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 get the seeds, yada, yada, yada. But back to information. So like, that's what this really sounds like. You shouldn't have access to be able to come to your own consensus. That's what China says. China goes, you know what? Online video games are bad for kids, and parents and children are too dumb to make these decisions for themselves. They can't be trusted with this shit. This is a matter of, governmental oversight, governmental importance. This is such a large issue that society can't be trusted. So we're just going to say, hey, you can only play online video games this number of hours a day. Or if you're under this age, you can't play at all. All these, imagine the amount of creativity, and just like all we ever see is the drop in the water, right? We don't see the ripples. We just see that bloop, but we don't see the ripples. And then the other bloop and the ripples, the way they all interact, and this destructive interference and constructive interference of all these waves, making larger waves or making smaller, interacting. We don't see any of that shit. We don't have the ability to. We can only see so many steps ahead in life. And imagine what that's doing. Now, again, we don't know if it's good or bad, because maybe by allowing kids to play for hours on end, it's fucking them up, and they're screwing up their dopamine receptors because they're getting easily accessible dopamine from video games. And then the rest of life seems meaningless because you don't get this direct hit, this direct correlation back to this feedback loop of dopamine and joy, or whatever the hell you want to call it. Or maybe by these kids being able to play, who the hell are we to say what's right or wrong? Maybe this is where the future's headed, and these kids become, these communities form of these online gamers and gaming. Look at how it's taken off, and it's become this great thing. And maybe it's a place for kids to go who otherwise couldn't find a place. And maybe that one kid who felt like he was an outcast finds a community in gaming and decides to not go to a school and shoot it up because he feels like he has a place in the world. So who the hell we just can't see into the future how these things affect. So I would think you would want to let people make their own goddamn decisions. But it really is weird that no one's really discussing that point. It's just like, oh, the left, the liberals, Joe Rogan and misinformation. Who fucking cares about COVID and all that horse shit? We're talking about you should have access to talk about things freely. That's what the fuck are we talking about? This other horse shit. It's such a smoke, like Batman smoke screen, throw that shit and then duck over here. Like, what are we talking about this other nonsense for? It's really dangerous. I mean, and I'm not trying to get into it. It's alarming. It's just really weird that this focus that we go down, we really just drill in more and more and more and more and more. And like, Neil Young, I like him and he represents what I believe in the world. And then Joe Rogan represents what I believe in. If you're against him, I just do whatever he does. It's like so base. It's so base. It's like there's just no real thought. And again, who the hell knows what was actually said or done? I mean, if he did say that, think about this. Neil Young wanted to get his music off of Spotify because of the compressed quality of it. And he said, like, it's not getting the real quality of like vinyl. Sounds so much more rich, and to make it easily accessible and stream better, they compress the music. And he wanted his music off, and guess what? He caved. He didn't do it because he's a cunt like everyone else. He wants the plays. Why did he do that? Because he wants people to listen to his music. He wants people to have access to it, just like they should have access to information. Whether it's misinformation or not isn't up to you to decide. It's up to people to decide. Let them hear all the information. It's just basic shit here. It's like, what are we talking about? But anyway, I didn't mean to go down that rabbit hole. But what I keep saying rabbit hole. We need to get I didn't mean to go down that Python hole. Or what's another wasp, a spider eating wasp hole. It doesn't work. It's stupid. What the fuck am I talking about? Idiot. Actually, what I was thinking about that, though, is like, who the hell knows what really was said with Neil Young and all. So I was thinking about that. I was bashing Richard Feynman last night. I was having fun just saying he's no Carl Sagan. I was kidding because it was funny. Just if you watch this why thing, it's just a total Billy Madison. A simple no would have, or a simple wrong would have sufficed. But it's funny because I watched this 7.5 minute clip and he's just seems like a dick. And it's just, he's really drilling into this idea of why instead of just answering the question. But then I watched the actual whole thing or more of it, like 20 plus minutes of it, the complete fun to imagine with Richard. He's actually very much like a Carl Sagan type. It's like he has such a childlike sense of wonder and awe. He's a theoretical physicist, worked on like quantum mechanics and stuff. But it's like, it's beautiful hearing, you see the joy in this guy's face as he discusses science. And like, that's what I love about it. It makes me, it just invigorates me. And like, I feel like that's my problem is I'm such a damn child and have such a base level of joy from things that as soon as they get involved with academics or corporations or business or any of that shit, it hurts me. Like, I know that sounds stupid. Not even sounds stupid. It sounds so just like, get over yourself, dude. But it really does. And it's like, I love things for just the beauty of them, which, I never liked. I didn't like Lex Friedman. Again, I didn't give all 200 something episodes of him a shot. I watched a couple that I thought would be interesting and I just didn't care for them. I don't think they were great guests, particularly. They weren't very eloquent. They weren't used to speaking, I believe, in terms of an entertaining way. Not like me, not like this guy. but then I watched a couple of other guests and I was really blown away by the fact that Lex Friedman has that sense of appreciation for like the joy and beauty of things more so than the hard, like he cares obviously, but he always kind of brings it back to like, wow, that's really from a human point of view. He comes to things from this humanistic point of view, which I love that. Like I'm a big Kurt Vonnegut fan, and he was very much, a humanist. There's so much beauty to that. And it really, I feel like it brings people together. Obviously, you would think, but like you can discuss religion or any piece of art in these humanist terms, and it just gets to what's more important at the heart of the matter, not, this is this group of people or this. I can't think of the word. Sorry, my eyes are dry as balls. You can see my face is all windburned. It's been brutal out there. As much as I like it, I have an issue where I walk the dog at like 1 a.m. I love it. I don't know why. I mean, I say walk. We only go like 100 feet. And I'm like, let's get the fuck out of here. Sucks. But it's a funny thing too. I know I'm jumping all over the place, but about the dog lately, I used to talk about him a lot. He's been great, but I realized like he's not even a dog. It's like I have a hairy little brother that walks around the house. Truly, like I was the youngest in my family of 3, so I know what the little brother or younger sibling is like. And he basically just annoys the shit out of me until I beat the crap out of him. And what I mean is like, he'll come up and maybe he'll have a toy, but he'll like slime it on my face and it's all wet and shit. And when I'm like laying, I'm just trying to do my own thing and he just won't leave me alone with it. And then if I play a little bit, what he'll do is like find like a spot on the back of my like armpit, like right here, or the back of my tricep, like the part of your body that hates the part of your body that hurts the most if you pinch it. And he just like, he just does this little nibble and fucking pulls. And it hurts so bad to the point where I'm just like, he knows what the result is going to be. We have a fun, crazy wrestling match where I'm like, blah, 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 and he's like, he's doing the fake biting and I'm rolling him around. I got him in headlocks. It turns into like this fight to the death where I'm running around. I hold him down like by his like throat, like just lightly. And they, dogs do this thing. And then I'm like scratching his belly at the same time. Then I let him up and he comes lunging at me and I just, I guide him. But it turns into chaos, and it's like he's now gotten this thing in his head where he knows how to get me. He knows how to get me going, just like I did to my brothers. And I'm just like, God damn it, you're supposed to be man's best friend. He'll come in, like, fuck with my shit. Like, I'll have a bag, and I'm just like, nah, like, he's fucking with my stuff. Like, it's literally like I have a goddamn little brother, except he's hairy and annoying. Well, I probably smelled a little bit. But it's been cracking me up lately. One of the other things I wanted to talk about was an idea I had. Maybe it came back to me because of watching the Richard Feynman stuff and watching like stuff on physics, but then also just I was listening to really good music. Like I had some really good hip hop on and I was watching all these videos on these mangaka artists. And that just gets me going back to that creative sense of like my need to paint. And I used to have this idea because I also want to get back into playing music, which I've been away from a lot of creative outlets for a while. And I had this idea for painting with sound. And I looked it up. There's a couple of guys doing it. Let me see. No. I don't know. There's a guy who like puts a speaker and puts paint in the speaker, then it blasts out and it just makes like a circle. It's some guy who like also does parkour. He's like a professional parkour runner. I don't know where the hell that went. This guy? No, I'm all over the place. I'm looking at Ivory Coast. Jesus. I am everywhere. But this guy does it like that. And that's not what I'm talking about. What I want to do is I want to hook up instruments. All right, let me step back. I want to write, well, I can't do it, but I want to get somebody to write a computer program where you can input colors that match certain notes. So like, A, B, C, D, E, whatever. You pick color. So like A is blue, C is yellow, D is green, right? And then you hook like a guitar up to this computer program. And every time you play one of those notes, or if you play like a chord, it'll like blend the colors. It does like a digital painting where it has a certain brush stroke. Like you pre-program, you pick what brush and pick what colors, and you pick like some intensity things maybe. And when you play that note, it'll do a brush stroke from like, let's say A puts a blue brush stroke. But the beauty of this is what I would do is write these algorithms or the computer program so that when those notes come up multiple times in the song, it alters them in some random way. So let's say, you know, there's a chorus and you're always going to have those same notes in that same chord. What it'll say is like, when you hit A, make brushstroke blue, but at some random length. So it's not always the exact same length. And then randomize its location on the XY axis between, you know, like 1 and whatever the dimensions of the canvas are. So then you get random brush strokes based on this program. Or you could also randomize like the pressure, the length, all these different things. And then I was also considering that you could also write in so dynamics and tempo. So the faster it is, that changes the strokes, and the louder, the softer it is, that changes, you know, maybe the pressure that's applied. And if you've ever used like a digital art, like an iPad, you can use like Procreate or I guess like Photoshop or these other things. There's a lot. I mean, it's limitless what you can do, especially with like the Apple Pencil. It's amazing playing around with the brushes. So you could create some really amazing creative paintings with this. But I'm thinking like you plug an electric guitar in, and even just doing like a solo or just playing some notes, you could literally have up on a TV screen or on a computer, the iPad plugged in or whatever this program's running on, and watch as you play notes what it creates, and then play music according to what you're trying to paint, you know, and then you could change these parameters. So maybe it's less randomized, and you can create parameters that are more, so you're more in control of what you're doing. So it's not just literally like throwing paint at a canvas, Jackson Pollock style. But then what I thought would be cool is what this other guy was doing is like he would play a song through the speaker, and the speaker would do, and then that painting would be like a representation of that song. Well, with this program, it would do the same thing, but you could kind of change the parameters. So, you know, you pick all shades of yellow and orange and put like a Doors song on, baby, light my fire. And you would get like this deep, you know, red, yellow hues and this warm colored painting to fit that. And it'd be such a badass thing of like, this is a physical representation of sound. Like I know there's sound waves, but this would be an interesting way of doing that. I just don't have the capabilities of doing this. I have zero skills in terms of like computer programming, but if I could get somebody to write a program like that, I don't know how difficult it would be. Then I guess you would need you would need a program like a Procreate to work through this. I don't know how the hell you would do it. Again, I'm talking out of my ass, but I would just love the idea of being able to like look at my wall and have a projector, and I'm projecting up on the wall as I just fiddle, like, cause I love just like dicking around with my guitars. You know, I have them back here and just kind of playing around. I do a lot of finger picking style where I use my hands, and just what that would look like. Maybe it would look like crap, and you would realize, or like you play some amazing classical song and it's just like a sludge turd painting. Like it's just garbage. It's just all mixed crappy colors. And then maybe you do something that's just like obnoxious. You would like electric, just like, well, that's not obnoxious. That was Hendrix, but I couldn't help but go into it. But just like a lot of whammy bar and shit. And you'd wind up having this gorgeous painting, you know, something that would resemble like flowers or something. Who the hell knows, right? And then you could attach the song to it. So if you go to a gallery, let's say the song plays, or if you sold these as NFTs, the song would play with the painting, and you could also then play it in real time. So then you're watching it be created as the song plays, which would be, you know, a whole other dimension to this art. Because we see art and it's the static finished product. But imagine, you know, you could go to an art gallery and, you know, there's a painting by Rembrandt, and you can click play and you can watch it in high speed, which is, you know, a lot of what we do on YouTube now. You can click on and watch somebody paint something in time lapse. But imagine, you know, the classics, watching them be created like that, which again, someday these could be classics. So, you know, you have these songs to play. I just think it would be a really cool idea. Or you plug in a keyboard and just by hammering and playing around, it would just be such a fun toy, more or less. Like that's what I always envisioned it as, just like a really kick-ass toy that I'd want to play with. Like I'd want to just go to that. Like, oh, I can't wait later to just dick around, see what happens. Like, what if I pick like just black and whites, shades of gray, and just I play this song? What do I get? You know, just tweak a parameter here, tweak a parameter here. Almost like you have knobs, like an Etch-a-Sketch, and just, you know, you can just play with it. Would just be a lot of fun. I don't know how to make that a reality. If anybody out there knows how to do this or is a computer programmer, hit me up. Let's make this shit a reality. Sounds like a best-selling app or toy or something. Some way to make money off of this. I want some of that internet money. But either way, that's just an idea I've been toying around with as I'm trying to get back into other creative outlets. Either way, that's enough of this shit for today. Keep it in mind, again, really, I really do. My thing is I have all these ideas. I don't know if they're good ideas, but I really want to see them through because I just find them fun. And if you look back through history, like I always bring up like the mathematicians, or like a lot of these Renaissance guys who were, you know, they were like Galileo was really good at math and he was into sketching and art and like engineering. So many of these guys were into women too. Sorry. So many of these folks were just into really cool stuff for the sake of that. It just woke them up in the morning and they felt enthralled to undertake these passions and these projects. It wasn't because they were getting a prize or they were, you know, getting a next big fat paycheck or bonus or so. It was just because they loved doing it. And so many of these projects, that's how I feel, but I just don't know how to make them reality. I guess I should just reach out to some interesting people, and which I'm hoping this acts like a medium for that. I want to be like a conduit. Is that the right word? I want to be an electric lightning rod. I want people to gravitate towards just doing cool shit. I used to be so vibrantly alive about ideas like this, where I was trying to connect creative people and do different projects. And my one buddy one time said, like, what are you doing? Like, are you trying to start? Like, he didn't say start a cult, but it was just kind of like, what are you trying to like start? I don't know what he said. It was like a business, but like some kind of, it had a negative connotation. I didn't care for it, is my point. And I was just like, I don't know. I'm just trying to get a bunch of creative people together and see what the hell happens. Like, just work on shit. Which, sorry, this is supposed to be over. Brings me another. I had a dream about Dave Grohl a couple nights ago. And like, we were like living in the same place. Like, he was my neighbor and he wanted to just be like left alone. And people didn't really know it was him. And he would just sit in this rocking chair overlooking like this river or this lake thing. It was weird. He was having a hard time, but like it was him, and we were bonding somehow. I don't know. It was cool though. So Dave, if you're out there, man, you're in my dreams. I love you, man. No, but really I just want to do creative shit, get creative people together, just work on cool stuff. That's what it's about. That's what I'm trying to get back to. But either way, it's enough of this shit for today. I'll see you next time. Gotta get a Sambo. Here's the thing.
Yeah, man, come on. Yeah.
Everyone thinks not doing shit's easy, but it's not. Fucking
I'm
night.
gonna get weird and go paint some stuff.
That's enough of this bullshit for one day.
Sometimes you just gotta slam them fuckers. Oh, sure.